Hey everyone, and welcome back. If you've ever been to Casablanca, you've probably seen the magnificent Hassan II Mosque, or maybe you've wandered through the bustling Medina, but there's another side to the city, a darker side, one that's whispered about in hushed tones after the sun goes down. My grandmother used to warn me, Yassine, never listen to the sea at Ain Diab after midnight. Not all the sounds you hear are from the waves. Well, I'm a sound engineer. My obsession is capturing the unique audio signatures of cities. To me, Casablanca is a symphony, the endless car horns, the call to prayer echoing from the minarets, the chatter of crowded markets, and of course, the constant roar of the Atlantic Ocean. So, you can probably guess what happened next. Fueled by my grandmother's old warnings and my professional curiosity, I decided I had to record those forbidden sounds of Ain Diab. I wanted to capture something no one else had. One night I packed up my high-fidelity recording equipment. I drove out to the coast and set up on the rocks far past the main promenade where the bright city lights begin to fade. Out there, the ocean feels immense, ancient. It was well past 2 in the morning. The air was thick with the smell of salt and carried a strange, electric tension. I put on my professional-grade headphones and started recording. At first it was just what I expected, the powerful crash of waves against the rocks, the distant, muffled hum of the city that never truly sleeps. It was peaceful, almost meditative. But then, just as my grandmother had warned, another sound began to surface. It was faint at first, weaving itself in and out of the sound of the surf. It wasn't the sea. It was a low, resonant hum. It sounded almost like a human throat, but impossibly deep, impossibly sustained. The strangest part, it didn't feel like it was coming from the air around me. It felt like it was coming from the water itself. Fascinated, I did what any sound engineer would do. I cranked up the gain on my microphone, amplifying the signal. The hum grew louder in my headphones, and I could start to discern patterns within it. This wasn't just random noise. It was structured, complex, almost like a language. It was mesmerizing, and it pulled me in. I felt this strange, undeniable compulsion to get closer to the water's edge, to hear it more clearly. That's when my equipment started to glitch out. The level meters on my recorder suddenly spiked, distorting the beautiful, deep hum into a piercing, digital shriek that made me rip the headphones from my ears. My eardrums were ringing. I looked at the digital display on my recorder. It was flickering wildly, showing corrupted text and symbols I'd never seen before, like some kind of alien script. The machine was completely freaking out. I looked up from my malfunctioning gear towards the ocean. The surface, which had been churning with waves just moments before, was now unnaturally calm. It was like a sheet of black, polished glass reflecting the faint starlight. And in that terrifying stillness, I saw them. Just beneath the surface there were faces. Dozens of pale, vaguely human faces were looking up at me from the dark water. Their eyes were wide, dark, and utterly empty. Their mouths were open, as if they were screaming, but no sound was coming out. They weren't swimming, they were just there, suspended in the dark water, their bodies fading away into the murky depths. It hit me like a physical blow. They were the source of the hum. My grandmother's stories weren't just stories. These were the lost souls of Ain Diab, the spirits of those claimed by the treacherous currents over centuries, trapped in an eternal, silent chorus. Panic, cold and absolute, seized me. I scrambled to pack my gear, my hands fumbling with cables and tripods. My only thought was to get away. As I was stuffing my recorder into my bag, one of the faces in the water began to change. Its features shifted, becoming clearer, more defined. It started to look familiar. The eyes, the shape of the nose. With a jolt of pure heart-stopping terror, I realized it was my own face staring back at me from the water. My reflection, my double, its mouth wide open, contributing its own silent note to that awful, hypnotic hum. Then, a voice. It wasn't from the water. It was right behind me, a whisper that cut through the sound of my own frantic heartbeat. It spoke my name. Yassine. It was a woman's voice, ancient and filled with sorrow, and it sounded like the grinding of wet stones. I didn't dare turn around. I didn't want to see what was attached to that voice. I grabbed my recorder and ran. I abandoned everything else, my expensive microphone, my tripod, all of it left on the rocks. I just ran sprinting back toward the city lights, not stopping until the familiar sounds of traffic and life drowned out the memory of that terrible hum. When I finally got home, my hands were still shaking so badly I could barely unlock the door. I had to know if what I'd recorded was real or if my mind had just played a cruel trick on me. I plugged my recorder into my computer as I expected. The audio file was corrupted. It was a mess of digital noise and static. But I spent hours working on it, trying to salvage something, anything. Finally, I managed to isolate a small, clean segment of the audio. With a trembling hand, I clicked play. It was the hum, deep, resonant, and just as hypnotic as I remembered. I still needed more proof. I ran the clean audio clip through a spectral analysis program. For those who don't know, it's a tool that visualizes sound waves, turning audio into an image. The screen filled with complex, beautiful patterns. But right in the center of the spectrogram where the hum was at its most intense, a single, clear image was embedded within the sound waves. It was a face, pale, with empty eyes and a mouth open in a silent scream. It was my face. I immediately deleted the file. I took the recorder outside and smashed it with a hammer until it was nothing but plastic and broken circuits. But it was too late. You can't unhear something like that. It's burned into my memory. Now, every night, when the city finally quiets down, I can hear it. Faintly, in the distance, but it's there. The low, resonant hum, calling to me. And every night, it feels a little bit louder. I think they want me to join their choir. I think my reflection in the water is waiting for the rest of me to arrive. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you enjoy these kinds of tales from the darker side of our world, please hit that like button and subscribe for more. Stay safe out there, and maybe think twice before you go looking for things that aren't meant to be found.